I would ask, how many of your professors have actually started and run a business? How many of them are just teaching what's in the book versus bringing their real life experience to the classroom?
Welcome to the Side Hustle Life channel, where I interview successful entrepreneurs and experts and learn how they built their business so that we can apply the same lessons to building side hustles of our own. In this video, you'll learn about what is the business entrepreneurship major, what are the entrepreneurship programs and courses like. Listen to the end to hear what kind of student should enroll in entrepreneurship program and what kind of student would hate it. And if you're thinking about majoring in entrepreneurship, make sure to grab the Majoring in Entrepreneurship What to Expect free guide in the description below. If you're new here, consider subscribing so you never miss a video, because you're only one side hustle away from creating the life you want. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Zane. Welcome.
Thank you, Felix. I appreciate your asking me to come on board.
Excited to have you on. So tell us a bit more about your background and what you do.
Okay, well, currently I am a university professor. I teach. I have been teaching at Rider University, and this year I'll be down at Rowan University as a visiting professor.
And what's your background in the entrepreneurship realm?
I'm sort of what you might refer to as a non-traditional academic, meaning I didn't go right through school. I didn't actually have a lot of interest in school. I had a great interest in computers, so I studied computers and programming, actually started a software business. We specialized in estate and trust accounting and tax software. I ran that business, sold it, worked for them for a few years, and then decided I wanted to go back and teach, because I actually did some teaching while I was starting the business in order to pay the bills while I was developing software. And I found out I really enjoyed teaching, but the pay isn't so great. But I figured once I sold business, that's not a problem.
Got it. So I think one of the most common questions here from the audience, and it might be a little bit of a loaded question, is do you need to go to college to be an entrepreneur? What's your typical answer to that?
The answer is it depends on the individual. There's a lot of great success stories, where people like a Bill Gates drops out of Harvard to start Microsoft. Some people would say he was pretty successful. But a lot of others, like the guys over at Google, they went to college, they developed their search engine while they were at Stanford. And then they took that product and founded Google. So it really depends on what it is you're trying to accomplish. For me, I had a background in technology. I was able to get experience in the field and start a software business. But honestly, what I tell my students, I could have grown it much faster if I had had a degree, because I made a lot of mistakes.
So for someone that is thinking about going to college for entrepreneurship, or thinking about switching majors into an entrepreneurship track, what is that program like? What is a typical curriculum or path throughout college like for an entrepreneurship major?
Well, first, entrepreneurship can exist either in the College of Business or in other areas. I'm most familiar with a College of Business type program where you'll have some liberal arts classes, you'll have a core set of classes, like everybody in business has to take marketing, finance, operations, and a few other classes, economics. But there are other models. For instance, at Rowan, if you're an engineering student, you can also take a whole set of entrepreneurship classes to go along with engineering. In different schools, you might be able to take that out of the liberal arts college, where you might be interested in communications and then be able to take some entrepreneurship classes so that you can be creative and make your way in the world. One of the things that entrepreneurship is really about is a holistic look at business and also a creative look at business. What I mean by holistic is, if you're going to take a product to market, if you're going to create something, you need to understand, who is my customer? Why do they want my product? Who's my competition? How do I compete against them? What's it going to cost me to deliver my product or service to my market? So you can't have just a very narrow focus. You need to be able to look at the bigger picture. And then the creativity part is really about solving problems. And business is about solving problems. Some are routine, some are novel. We hope to equip students to be able to handle both types of problems.
What are the differences that you've seen in the more typical business programs, business tracks versus a entrepreneurship like concentration?
Let's say you were going to study finance versus entrepreneurship. A finance major, although it's an excellent major, I would never say anything bad about it. It really focuses on a section of business, handling the money, financing projects, a lot of calculations, and really the managing of the money for the business. Whereas entrepreneurship is really, as I was saying, this more holistic look at business where you have to be able to understand a little bit of everything. So entrepreneurship pairs really well with other majors. Like we have a lot of kids that will double major in, say, marketing and entrepreneurship, because both of them are involved in understanding customers and how to get to communicate with the customer, those sorts of things. I've had students who have double majored with finance because that was an area they liked, but they wanted to sort of have their own business in the future. So a lot of kids, I think everybody ought to try and double major if possible. It gives them more job opportunities and it allows them to sort of cross-pollinate their ideas.
There's going to be a good segment of the student body that will go into entrepreneurship and then will enter the workforce to work for someone else, at least at first. What kind of jobs or industries do you find that entrepreneurship majors will typically go towards or perform well in?
What's funny is when I'm teaching at the one institution, Ryder, we get a lot of students who's part of a family business where the family has sent the student to Ryder specifically to learn about entrepreneurship so they can bring these ideas back to the business. We see a lot of students who are interested in either starting a small business or working in a small business where you have to wear multiple hats. And also the fastest growing section of people starting business, really franchises, where people will take on a franchise or multiple franchises and use the skills they've learned in entrepreneurship. But what a lot of students and the public doesn't really realize is large businesses need entrepreneurship as well. A company like 3M is all about creating new products internally and bringing them to market to the point where they actually give their engineers time to develop new things that they just want to work on. IBM, when they worked on the PC, actually took a small group of people and sent them out of the main office to develop the PC. So companies are always looking for people that are looking to create new things.
For someone out there that is thinking about taking or going to college or switching majors into entrepreneurship, what should they look for in the program? What are some key things that they should look out for to determine if it's a right program for them?
I know what I would look for in a program. First, I would look for a program that's large enough that they have a variety of classes, right? Like when you go in and you talk to them, you say, well, what classes do you offer? They should offer something international. They should offer maybe a social entrepreneurship. They're all going to have an intro to entrepreneurship, but you're looking for a variety of classes that you can take. Number two, you're probably looking, I would ask, how many of your professors have actually started and run a business? How many of them are just teaching what's in the book versus bringing their real life experience to the classroom to really flesh out the theories and the case studies that you're reading about. I would then ask how many hands-on projects they have. In my classes, students are always working on projects. They're trying to come up with new ideas. I send them out to interview people to get feedback on those ideas. We have a prototyping workshop where they have to design something for somebody else, put together a survey. They have to present their work to people. And so they're getting real life experience. They're actually doing it and living it, not just reading something in a book. So you need to have that hands-on experience in there.
Makes sense. For someone that is applying to a school to specifically get into the entrepreneurship program, are there ways that they can prepare themselves or ways that they can make their application look more attractive to that program?
Obviously, grades matter in high school, but not as much as you would think. Like for instance, if a student didn't do well as a sophomore, but their grades started to pick up as a junior and they picked up as a senior. That looks really good because it says, hey, I've gotten my act together and I'm ready for this. Colleges are usually looking for people that are active in something, whether it's a sports team, whether it's the glee club, whether, it's just something where they're doing more than just going to school and going home. They like to see people that are active and involved in clubs, the theater, almost anything. They really want kids to be well-rounded for college. I would work on the essay that really talks to why you want to go to college or why you want to go to this college and maybe why you want to study this major. I think that's really the key to separating yourself from the other students in terms of who you are and how you can benefit.
Can you describe the type of person, type of student that would thrive in an entrepreneurship program?
Typical entrepreneurship student is not the prototypical college student. In other words, they're not sit and study the book and do well on exams. We get those students, but the majority of our students are kids that they'll hustle. They had side jobs. They're self-motivated. They want to solve a problem or they want to accomplish something in their life. And I have watched students develop as they found their passion. For instance, I have this one student, Ethan, and Ethan was an athlete, and I'll say he's a bit of a lackadaisical student. And he went to a summer camp for cancer kids. And he came back and he said, Dr. Zane, what can I do to help these kids? And we just sort of talked about different ideas. And now he has launched, in a matter of months, he became almost a different person. He launched a nonprofit organization which holds track meets, and the proceeds, the excess proceeds, are given to charity for cancer research and for cancer kids. He is now an A student, which he never was, because he found his passion and he's throwing himself into school and into his business.
What are some characteristics maybe of students where it seems like it might be a good fit for them and they decide to switch into because they think that it might be a good fit, but then it turns out to be not what they expected? Have you seen something like that?
If you want all the answers in the book, not going to happen. Entrepreneurship is really about creativity, starting things, because let's face it, if you have a brand new product, there's a lot of unknowns. If you're going to start a business, you don't really know if people are going to walk into your business and buy what you have to sell. So you're going to have to solve problems every day that you didn't even know existed. You're going to have to be able to deal with ambiguity. And the idea is that, you must be a self-motivated self-starter in order to fight through the issues, fight through the problems. If that's not you, entrepreneurship's probably not for you.
Well, let's say for students that do enjoy the program, enjoy the entrepreneurship track, what are some of what would you say is their most favorite thing about an entrepreneurship program that they might not be able to find in the other types of business majors?
Well, what's interesting is in the schools where I've taught, we always have a class where students can actually launch a business for credit. And at Ryder, we can actually give them an interest-free loan to help them get started. So the idea that if they have a concept and they want to try it out, they can do that with help. So in other words, it's run like an independent study where you come up with your plan, you get it approved by your professor who's going to advise you. We bring in a mentor to work with you, and you go launch your business for credit, and you try to learn something. And what's interesting is some students will, take off and run with this, and sometimes it fails or just doesn't do what they expected. But the key is, what did they learn from that process? We have one student, well, he now teaches for us at Ryder, where he launched a sports business and it didn't go over so well. But everything he learned from that allowed him to launch his current sports business in a slightly different manner. But he now has a thriving business, and he actually teaches in the evenings.
What percentage of students do you find graduate from the entrepreneurship program and do end up starting their own business?
That's a very tough number to get a hold of. We only know about the students that stay in touch with us. And often students will go into industry and work for a few years until they make some contacts. Half of entrepreneurship is the mindset. Do you understand who you are, what you want? And we find that a lot of people that start businesses had a family member who started a business. I know for me, my father had a business, my uncle had a business. I just thought everybody had a business and that it was the normal thing to do. Whereas in other families, they don't have that sort of role model. So they don't understand that it's acceptable, it's okay to do that. And that's one of the things we try to provide through mentorship, through reading case studies, that it is okay for students to do that. It's kind of let go. You don't have to work at a big factory for 60 years.
Yeah, I think one of the most common feelings that entrepreneurs have is self-doubt, right? There's always something in the back of the head that it's like a roller coaster of emotions, like it's going to work, it's not going to work, it's going to work, it's not going to work, back and forth. And I'm sure this is the same types of thoughts that will go through a student's head where they think, is this the right track for me? Should I change major? Should I, add this, add that? As a student in the entrepreneurship track, what are some telltale signs they can look for to see, okay, I'm where I should be?
I think a lot of students will find out as soon as they take that intro class, because they are going to have to come up with business ideas. They're going to have to get feedback on it. And some people just can't handle that, getting criticism on their ideas. And that tells you pretty quickly, can I handle this or I can't handle this? You have to develop some thick skin. It's not just, can I come up with an idea, but can I develop that idea? Can I take constructive criticism to develop it? Can I assemble resources to launch this business? Or do I just sit there and go, okay, I'm watching everybody else do this stuff and I realize it's not for me? Some people might think that just because they're quiet, that this is not for them. That is not the case. I was fairly quiet when I was young, not anymore. There's a lot of people that are thinking about things, but they're not very vocal. They're not willing to get up in front of people. They have to get over that. They have to learn to get up and express their ideas and be willing to lead. Because if you can't lead, it's pretty hard to run a business.
Is there anywhere else that you recommend watchers that are thinking about learning more about this? Where can they go? What should they be looking for to do some more research to see if this would be a good fit for them?
Okay, let me send you a couple of, let me look up a couple of websites that might be good. I don't have a blog or anything like that. So let me look up a couple of websites to give you so that you can provide them to your listeners.
Okay, we'll link all of that. Great. Thank you so much again.
My pleasure. You have a great day.
Thanks for watching. Now the question for you is, what are you majoring in, or what did you major in college? For me, I did a dual concentration in finance and information systems. Add your college major in the comments below. And if you're thinking about enrolling in an entrepreneurship program, make sure to grab the Majoring in Entrepreneurship What to Expect free guide in the description below. And if you want to learn more about side hustles and entrepreneurship, make sure to check out these other videos on entrepreneurs and side hustles.